Recent years. So
Yes.
recent years we went through, of course, the pandemic. And during that pandemic, we had to unlearn and relearn a lot of things. The basics of retail, the basics of how we operate. So in the past few years, I know one of our biggest changes was also the way we operate our back end. So we invested in a huge and highly automated distribution center. So there are robotics, there are things in play in that facility that will make us more efficient and allow us to serve our stores and customers better. So that heavily changed the way that we operated. So there's better planning, there's better coordination across the end-to-end value chain, so from sourcing and planning and production down to delivery to stores. So that whole chain really got tightened during the pandemic because we had to be a lot more efficient. We had to be able to serve our customers a lot better. So in the past few years, that's one of the major changes. Very recently also, we also really spent a lot more time revisiting how we develop our products. So we've really invested a lot more time and effort in how we develop our products, our brands, and our stores. So those are, I think, the key things that have changed over the last few years for Golden ABC. So some were temporary.
Yeah.
So speaking of temporary, for example, because of the pandemic, because of especially Metro Manila, there are a lot more, I guess, unique regulations about the pandemic. So you remember that whole ECQ, MCQ, multiple Qs that we had to go through. So we had to evolve our working arrangements also then. So we had a lot more work from home then. We still do keep flexible work arrangements now, but it's not at the same number as the pandemic. So that's an example of something that we did temporarily but has stayed permanently even after now in the new normal. So the way that we also worked with our teams was temporary. So we had a lot of, I guess, temporary arrangements back then when we couldn't get, for example, one of the best examples I have is some of our stores and our staff couldn't open or couldn't move around the best way possible. Because against that whole queue thing, barangays were closed, so people couldn't cross over. So we had a lot more hybrid roles before, where people had to wear multiple hats. So some learnings there that we applied temporarily. Some stayed, so we realized, oh, pwede pala. It works well, and there's good synergy. So we kept some of those things, but other things we really went back to the previous state, pre-pandemic state of more specialized, more focused roles. So yes, those are some examples of some things that were done temporarily that stayed in parts, but some of them really reverted back to pre-pandemic ways also. Good question, great question. The key guiding, I guess the key guidance we really get in trying to balance that now is really our values. Our core company values, at the end of the day, are what are meant to guide us through decisions, whether it's our new generation, whether it's from the previous generation. It's really our core company values. That one, together with some more, I guess, modern principles I apply, I think are what helped me and helped my brother manage the succession and the cross-generational work well. So for example, Vani, one of the frameworks that I learned pretty recently from a good friend of mine who also had to go through a cross-generational is the 3 I's. So when you work with the previous generation and with the current generation, the first thing you do is you imitate. So when my brother and I started, when my siblings started, we just imitated what our parents used to do, what our leaders used to do. We would just imitate them to learn. So we first had to imitate. Over time, we would then move to innovating with them. So we have now imitated them, we have learned from them. We then move to innovating with them. Sige, what have I learned from them and what do I want to put in? So we innovate together. The last I that we're already moving towards and we're already trying is it's now our turn to invent. So coming from imitating them, we have innovated with them. It's now our turn to try and invent new ways of working, new things, new business principles or new approaches that we will take forward na, coming from what we've learned from them. So that's some of the ways that, again, our values and applying these 3 I's are some ways that we stay grounded but then from being from Cebu, learning from our previous generation, but also adding our own flavor and adding our own thinking into the way we do things. We're very fortunate that we have a very supportive and open-minded board. I'd like to say, and this is not something our our customers and the general public sees, no, at the board level. This is really kind of like internal and behind the scenes. But we're very fortunate that we have a very supportive and well-experienced board that my siblings and I, JBC's leaders, continue to learn from every time we have board meetings. So there are some things that are met very, very openly. In fact, it would get to a point where they would be challenging us more. For example, the recent wave and hype of AI. That's a lot of board pressure we get. Where are your AI programs? Where are your AI initiatives? So that's an example of a board being very open. But there are other things also that are not met with skepticism, but met with a bit more questions. How does that work? How does that apply to the business? What value does it bring to your shareholders? These are questions that we still do get from the board, but I think rightly so, because it keeps us grounded, it keeps us guided in why we're doing certain things. But overall, I'd like to say we're very fortunate that we have a very supportive, very open board, so we've not really had to have major clashes or tension at the board level. Okay, so alignment, yes. So we're with where Golden ABC is today, we're quite big already. So we have thousands of people across the Philippines. It's not just one of our head offices is in Manila, here of course in Cebu also, but we're quite big. So there are two important, I guess, principles I apply in trying to manage this well. The first one is I'm a big believer of, I will borrow from the McKinsey model of the three S's. So strategy, structure, and systems, in that order. So one of the best ways I've found to make sure that you have a consistent and well-aligned way of working across strategy and operations is really starting with strategy. There has to be a very well-defined, well-put-together strategy that is well communicated across the entire organization. So it always starts with strategy. Once you have that strategy, you put in the right structure to make sure that you have the right team members, you have the right ways of working, you have the right communication within that structure to be able to support that strategy. So strategy, structure. And then systems come in, your tools, your way of working, the systems you have in place to be able to work better. That's the flow that I like to follow. And I think it has given pretty good results in ensuring alignment across the org. But at the same time, making sure that there's a balance of strategy, again, high-level vision, what we want to do, where we want to go, but aligning that with the day-to-day operations of running our stores, the way that we behave. So that's one model I follow. The second one is really communication. Communication is such a big part of what allows us to align strategy and operations well. And personally, it's a big part of how I like to work. Communication. The lack of communication will destroy any strategy in any organization, no matter how big or no matter how small you are even. The lack of communication will really destroy you. So communication is a big part for me, because of having the right communication tools, having the right communication principles. For example, something we have learned strongly from our founder, from our founder and of course our parents, is really talk to your stores, talk to the store staff, and talk to the sales team. Don't treat it like nasa head office kami, so we will just work among ourselves and decide among ourselves and then give it to the stores to execute. So we've always been raised and brought up that you need to continue talking to your stores, store teams, you need to talk to your frontliners. And that bridge between stores and head office has always been a big part of how we work. And the communication, that's a communication principle that's really, really important for us. So case in point, for example, when my brother and I came over for this, the first thing we did was visit our stores in Cebu. Anytime we go to a new place, whether it's in Cebu or in Mindanao, of course in Manila, it's part of our schedules already. It's really to visit our stores and talk to our store managers, store team, to hear from them. That's one of the strongest ways we can really align strategy and operations across the board. Great question. Definitely there are learnings. One of the recent communication principles I have learned that I found applies a lot to Gen Z, even to us as millennials, but especially Gen Zs, is the person. How does the principle go? the person in front of you is not necessarily the person you're talking to. It's a principle that I've learned coming up from the person you're talking to and the words you're exchanging isn't just the person you're talking to. There's a deeper part of that person, the upbringing, the experiences, the environment they grew up in. And remembering that has always helped me manage Gen Zs, that Gen Zs can have their own language, can have their own way of working, lingo, diba? And a reminder for me is always, sometimes in engaging with Gen Zs, we get feedback na they're so difficult to talk to, they're so nonchalant, they're very, sa atin, mga NR, mga no reaction, blank faces. But if I apply that principle, that's coming from somewhere. Is it because they're more used to digital communications? So digital communication is very blank, diba? It's just through that. Is it coming from their upbringing during, they had to go through the pandemic, so they had lesser social interactions that they have not built on? So that principle of the person the person in front of you is not always the person that you're talking to, has really helped me try to understand and learn how to engage with Gen Z a lot more. So correct, Penshoppe is our flagship brand in Golden ABC. It's our biggest brand. But right now, after our close to 40 years we have 6 distinct brands, 6 homegrown brands in Golden ABC. Of course, Penshoppe. We have Oxygen, we have Regatta, Memo, For Me, and our newest one, Boku. And the guiding philosophy that maybe empowers, and helps us develop and look for new brand concepts is really the concept of building brands for the world. That's our vision. That's who we want Golden ABC to be brand builders for the rest of the world. And our purpose of inspiring greatness. So in every brand that we currently manage, want to build, or look for to try and make part of the organization is really, it has to be a brand that we are able to build for the world, and it has to be a brand that can inspire greatness. If it doesn't touch either of these two, then maybe we have to revisit why it's with us and why it should be a part of us. But these two philosophies are really what drive us to manage our current and look for new brand concepts. The philosophy that our founder and of course my parents have also implemented is, and the way that Dad likes to say this now, is his vision is not to bring the world's best to the Philippines, but it's to bring the Philippines' best to the rest of the world. He has said that in multiple for the last couple of decades. That's always been his vision. It's well translated now in our corporate vision. Mm-hmm. But yes, it's definitely founded from the way that our parents have brought up and built the business. Yeah. So I will continue to use AI. Mm-hmm. So AI as a future state of being an AI-driven company is one of the heavy initiatives driving the way we operate now. And while we do like to talk a lot about AI, the foundations of AI is really data. So without a strong data foundation, there's no way a company can move into a strong AI program or AI initiatives. No? Mm-hmm. So given that our vision is to be a more AI-driven company also, we're really focusing a lot on our data in the way that we collect, structure, store data, and consume data. It's now a big part of really how we operate in the company. One of the things I like to go back on now is in the past. So I've been fortunate enough to be part of multiple projects ever since I started, big company projects. And usually project management, there are basics in project management. What's your cost? What's your timeline? What are the risks? So on and so forth. But over the years, I've really seen us develop that now a major part of project management is what's your data flow like? What's your data strategy like? So it's now becoming a normal term in the company. And it's really to prepare for AI. That much is clear. So going back to your question, one of the biggest transformations is really our data strategy and the way that we work with data to be AI ready. Okay. I will apply something that I've learned from my parents, and it's something we grew up with. It's something that we saw firsthand. Before digital, before the whole digital wave came, there were the digital that we have today. There was a version of digital before the internet came about. Mm-hmm. And the way that we saw our parents keep up to date with the trends then was really keeping close to the youth and keeping close to the market and the consumers. And in the same way now that again digital, so there are a lot of newer waves in digital. And of course, TikTok being one of the biggest new innovations in digital. It's really keeping close to what our consumers and market are doing and how they are behaving. So, for example, when we were growing up, again before social media became a big thing, we spent a lot of time playing online games and all this stuff. So we spent a lot of time watching. Back then, AXN, those shows, those TV shows. And we would really remember our parents intentionally spending time with us to learn, what are you kids watching? What are you kids doing now? Because we were the market. We were the market of Penshoppe before. So it was seeing our parents do that and learning, okay, so this is what kids, or this is what the market is spending time on now. Let's try to serve and let's try to participate in that interest. It's the same thing that we're doing also now. Now we're keeping close with. We have a lot of Gen Zs in the company. Of course, we have a lot of friends who also. We have a lot of friends that are also Gen Z. We just talk to them and say, what are you guys into? What do you guys spend time on now? So a big part, of course, is TikTok. A lot of them spend time on TikTok. These are the things that they do. So how do we make our brands relevant in that space, and how do we participate in that space? So it's one of the. It's a very simple. It's one of the simplest ways. We just keep in touch and keep attuned to how our customers, how the market is behaving. Amusing, it's amusing maybe internally. It's not so funny when you look at it from a business perspective, but internally it's a bit funny. It's the pace at how they change, and it's something we have to learn how to keep up with. Because the way that, one of the things we've noticed is with how fast social trends, this meme culture, how fast that changes. No? Small example is that Coldplay concert. Mm-hmm. Literally overnight, it became a meme and it became a social topic. No? Mm-hmm. And overnight that happened, and your ability to participate or to be part of that pop culture is so fast now that unless you are able to participate quickly in the company, we've had instances where we've tried to before, but by the time we were able to join, ay wala na. It's no longer that topic. It's now changed. The attention is now somewhere else. So it's amusing that it's a very tricky and sometimes unpredictable space to participate in. But it's not so funny in the business sense, because we really have to spend so much time keeping up with culture and with society. That's one of the small, again, amusing things, but difficult things also about what we've learned.
Challenging too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very, very important. It's one of the reasons why, even if we are based in Manila already, our parents, our family has made it intentional that we still spend a lot more time here in Cebu. Personally, I like to say it as we may now live in Manila, we may now have our lives in Manila, but Cebu is always home for us. Cebu is still that place where when we come home, iba pa din yung feeling of being back home, of seeing how things have developed here. So it's a big part of how we operate, because we've always been brought up being reminded of remembering where we're from. While we now live in Manila, we are still proudly Cebuano. We are not ashamed to say, yeah, we're from Cebu. We're saying we are from Cebu, and that mindset sometimes of sometimes we get this not naman treatment, but sometimes we get this impression that Cebu is seen sometimes as an underdog. Taga Cebu, you're not from Manila. That kind of. So this kind of grounding has always helped us stay true to who we are, and kind of just challenge us, push us to show that, yeah, even if we're from Cebu, we can compete with you, even if you're from Manila. And the same mindset happens in a global setting now. Even if we're from the Philippines, even if we're a Filipino-based brand or Filipino-based company, the Filipino can compete globally. So that's why that same feeling of, even if we're from Cebu, the Cebuano can compete nationally, and we take that with us when we're in Manila and say, even if we're from the Philippines, the Filipino can compete globally and can be as good. So that's why it's very important. Coming from Cebu, remembering our roots from Cebu is very important to how we operate and how we behave in the company. One of the best analogies that I've recently also learned and tried to apply when it comes to succession planning. No? Succession is always about two generations handing off, handing over. And I think that one of the best analogies I've learned is a succession plan is really like a baton race, a relay race. The relay races is there are runners and then they pass on the baton and they continue that race. It's really one of the best ways that I've seen to look at it, because in a relay race, when you're running, the previous runner has to run as fast as possible, but has to be ready to hand off to the next runner. Diba? That handoff is so critical for the success of the race that if the previous runner is running too slow, syempre you will lose the race. If they are running too fast and hand off too quickly, the next runner will not be able to handle it well and might fumble, might drop the baton. If the handover is well, but the previous runner holds on too long and doesn't let go, then the previous runner cannot run forward, cannot speed up because someone is holding them back. So that philosophy, that analogy has really stuck with us also in the way that we manage succession. That it's always a two-way thing. The previous runner has to be able to hand off well, not hold on too long and let go well. But the next runner, the next generation, also has to be able to run at a certain speed to continue what the previous runner has. So they have to be ready to run. They have to be able to hold on to the baton well, get it well, and take it with them well forward. If you hold on too weakly, the baton will fall. If you hold on too tightly and you forget to run forward, you're going to get left behind. So that analogy has really stuck with us in that it's really like a relay race. Like both runners have to be really well coordinated, well timed, and they have to trust each other that you're gonna take this, you're gonna take this well, and you're gonna run fast with it. So we apply the same thing with succession. We need both generations to work well with each other. We need the handover to be strong. Don't let go too early. Don't let go too long, or don't hold on too long. But the next generation, you have to be ready to run. You have to be ready. You have to be willing. So that's one of the ways that we really manage succession. That this baton, this relay race, has really stuck with us. And it's something that we're continuing to do until now. Speaking of succession, we have gone through a level of succession very recently. So over the past year, we have had a new CEO. So mom is now our CEO. Dad has graduated to a more executive chairman position. So that leadership change, that leadership succession has brought in a different style. Mom's leadership style is very different from that of Dad's. She's able to continue a lot of things that Dad has done, but also introduce and change a lot of the things that the way that the company works. So some of the exciting things that we know we are working on and preparing for now is still aligned to our vision of building brands for the world, preparing and investing in our brands, in our people, in our systems, to really prepare our brands to go global. So the pandemic, of course, because of the disruption globally, slowed us down in our ability to go global. But now that again we've bounced back, now that we're making changes and investments in how we work and how strong our brands and products can be, that's really going to be one of the most exciting things over the next few years. Seeing how our brands, our products, our stores, and our teams really prime up to be going global. That's really the most exciting things. Not too much detail, but the things that we're doing internally to really, and I'm seeing it now in what we do, in the projects we manage, and how we make decisions. It's a question of, will doing it this way prepare us to go global? So seeing that more frequently and seeing that the way that the teams work is really, if we do this, will this help us go global? It's really one of the most exciting things. And just envisioning that Penshoppe or some of our other brands will now have more stores in the global market, being able to serve different markets. That's the most exciting thing that we can expect over the next few years.